In other news now, a much-anticipated rise in the official cash rate yesterday could see the handbrake pulled on the country's house prices. Yesterday's rise to 0.5% is the first in 7 years, with the Reserve Bank signalling more is to come. And some retail banks reacted almost immediately, lifting floating rates to match. Barely existent rates have been blamed for soaring property prices, so will the upward trajectory start to cool things down? I'm joined now by CoreLogic's chief property economist, Kelvin Davidson. Good morning.
Good morning.
So this is the start of a series of hikes, assuming COVID doesn't derail things in the next few months. It shouldn't it, and needs to cool off the housing market?
Yeah, I think it certainly will. We're looking at possibly mortgage rates going up from sort of 2.5% now to something like 4.5% potentially over sort of a 2-year horizon. So that's a big change for people, and proportionally that's the thing, that from such a low base it's a fairly big increase. So, hopefully households are thinking about that, but I certainly think it'll contribute to a market slowdown.
When you say 4.5%, which rate are you talking about? If we sort of take the 2-year fixed rate, which is a rule of thumb, is a bit of an average one, isn't it, for people to take? They're already getting up towards 3.5%. Some are pushing 4%.
Yeah, I think probably at those shorter horizons, the 1 or 2 year fixed, because they're the rates that people are actually taking out. They're the most common ones at this point. So probably they're the ones that really matter. And I think it's going to contribute to that slowdown, but not the only factor. Of course, we've got tighter regulation, lending rules themselves are tightening. We've got restrictions on investors. So it's part of, I suppose, a big mix of things that will contribute to
Right, so I'm just interested in that shorter end. So there's going to be nowhere to run if you're looking to, you're refixing or whatever, and you're thinking, I can go down to 6 months, I could go to a year to try and stay under 4%, maybe 3.5%. That's going to evaporate fairly quickly, do you think?
I don't think, to use your phrase on it, I don't think there's anywhere to run really, because those longer rates have already gone up, and we're going to see those changes at the shorter end. They have already gone up. We've seen to date, we've seen that already. So, I don't think there'll be anywhere to run. The OCR contributes to those shorter rates, but also just the offshore pressures that you see too. So, and of course it does take a little bit of time to come through, because people are on, say, a fixed rate now. It might be 6 months or a year until they refinance, but at some point it will come through. And for me, it's that proportional change. That's what people need to be thinking about from such a low base. Even a small rise is quite large and can make a difference to payments.
Well, make a difference if you've bought a house in the last few months or so, given the prices. Is there a worry here that some people just may have overstretched? I mean, some of the prices obviously are pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, that's certainly the concern the Reserve Bank's got. Their motivation for tightening up the lending rules is very much focused on recent entrants, people who have got in at a low deposit and who have got in at a high multiple of debt to income. So they're the people that they're really concerned about. And I guess they're trying to get off risks. I mean, the rise in the official cash rate isn't necessarily targeted at the housing market, but it's part of the answer, I suppose. And so it is those recent entrants they're concerned about, and it's OCR part of that, but also tighter lending rules, in particular that tighter speed limit for owner-occupier lending. So, it's a big mix of things that's being chucked at the housing market at present.
Kelvin Davidson, thank you very much for your time. CoreLogic's chief property economist.